we've got a really cool conversation today with Peter Muhoro of Rappahannock Electric Cooperative. You are also a PhD. You're a smart guy, Peter.
Well, apparently someone thinks that.
Peter is the Vice President of Strategy and Technology. And I think all of our listeners are really going to get into this conversation to really hear how much thought and planning and process and everything else that you guys have put into this. So let's start right off the top, Peter. Tell us a little bit about your background. And I'm sure people like me were like, what does that title even mean? So give us the whole nitty gritty. Give us kind of your life's journey and what you do at REC.
Absolutely. Excited to be here. And thank you to the Chamber for hosting me. We're excited to share some of the things we're doing at REC and the future of the cooperative. And so my background, I'm a physicist by training. So I spent a lot of time in labs working with lasers. And that's when I lost all my hair. And I decided I needed to do something different. And so I spent a lot of time looking at energy issues. And really the thing that laid out the foundation in my career has been two things. The most expensive unit of energy is the one that you do not have. And then the second most expensive unit of energy is the one that is deployed and managed and consumed inefficiently. So those two things is what got me excited about being in the energy industry, but specifically the electric cooperative model, because this is truly what the model, I call it, by the people, for the people, right? And so that's what excites me about being in this role at Rappahannock. I'm coming up to a year pretty soon, but I've spent the last decade or so working with and for electric cooperatives in areas of technology, moving us forward into what the future looks like, setting corporate strategy, and really driving the future of what we could call the utility 2.0 or 3.0 or whichever 0.0 we want to be at it.
Cool.
I love that. That's pretty cool. So what are some of the fun things that you said you went from lasers to this? So what is this? Are you just studying and researching all day? Do you have a lab like Dexter, or like what is it?
Well, I wish I had a lab. Usually I tell people now that I lost my hair, I just rub my head and ideas come up, right? And so like I've got this crystal ball right here, but really what I spend a lot of time is, and my teams historically, we spend time on looking at what technologies exist, which ones can we pilot, which ones can we look at and say, and ask the question of how do we continue to have that mission and vision the cooperative has, while moving the co-op into what the future looks like. So let me paint a picture. If you look at where we've come from, we could say today we're in, we went from an industrialization perspective. Today, we're more in a data-driven world. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean for the co-op, and how do we utilize data to get us to that next place? And the key things and the mega trends that are driving our utility industry today, it's really four key areas. One, decarbonization. There's a lot of talk on greenhouse gases and carbon emissions and the like. And so that's a big driver in moving towards how we see more and more clean energy being deployed within not only just Virginia, but throughout the world. The next thing is digitization. I talked about data and everything becoming digital. Who would have thought that, we can hold a device in our hands that's essentially a very fast computer, right? And that's the trajectory of where we've gone into, and that continues to impact what we do. Thirdly, decentralization. Historically, what we've done is we've built these big power plants way out, in the middle of nowhere, transmitted it, and then distributed it, and then consumed it. Well, now you as the consumer can also generate your own power. It's a terminology we call prosumers, right? So that we're seeing more and more distributed energy resources, as we would call them, things like solar on the home, batteries, and things like that, becoming more and more common within our industry. And the last thing that's driving the change is electrification in the energy ecosystem, and that is from heating to electric vehicles and other many areas of moving everything towards electrification. And if you really boil down to it, when you look at your disposable income, for example, most likely a majority of it is spent on things that rely on electricity. So we play a key foundation if you really think of it, but at the same time, on making sure we could get there to provide that benefit to the member at the affordable cost, but using the latest technology. So I know I said a lot on that, but let me give an example. This, sometime this year, we'll be launching a new rate that will allow our members to charge their electric vehicles at night, when power for us is cheap on the market, when cost of power is cheap. So we could provide a credit if a member schedules their car to charge at specific times.
Wow.
Those are the kind of innovations that we're thinking about and we're talking about. But a lot of that also relies on data. We need to understand how the charging works, and we need to understand how the networks look like. And so that's just an example. I know I gave you these four big mega trends, but that's a specific example of one of the things that we're looking at as we consider changes into the future.
Wow. And everything you have just said really embodies the idea that the electric industry seems to be moving at an increasingly fast pace. Peter, we all need more people like you around, because you're the numbers guy. I can't. I cannot work with the numbers at all. But if you could give a little insight into, you kind of went over some things that REC is doing to adapt to the changes and to evolve and be innovative. Both the new technologies and expectations, how is REC itself managing all of those new areas that have emerged and are on the horizon, so such as maintaining sustainability?
That's a wonderful question, and thanks for that question. The reality of it is, at the end of the day, yes, we do have to look at the numbers, right? And in fact, everything we do and everything we work on is to ensure that we can, if anything, I like to say we maintain rates where they are. My goal is, in fact, let's help to reduce the cost of electricity, right? Let's help to reduce the cost to the member. And so, what are some of the things that we're doing? A good example right here in Spotsylvania County, we're the first electric co-op in Virginia to install a battery, and this battery will power, in case of an outage, for example, can power about 1,000 homes for 8 hours.
Wow.
That is innovation right there. But that's not only the cool part about it. What really this battery does, it also goes ahead and makes sure that we don't have to spend money, additional funds to upgrade a system, and it increases reliability. So in terms of when there's outage, that we can make sure that members are still connected. And that is important on the residential side of it. But think of a business that relies on electricity to continue to function. This is just one example of things we're going to continue to do that are economical today. And we know that they're the future of what our industry looks like, that can really help to support our members.
I could hear you talk all day. It's awesome.
Well, I talk a lot, so you might,
We can
sometimes I'm
schedule
talking
that.
to
Let's,
myself.
yeah.
So
It's a good thing you're not a lawyer then.
You're mentioning all this technology, and you even mentioned, we have computers in our hands now. That smart technology is just booming and booming so fast. How will this help drive change for business and economic development?
absolutely. So, what's exciting to me, and let me just give a simple example. In my own home, I walk up to my door, the door's unlocked. I don't carry keys anymore. In fact, I love it because I drive a car that does not have an actual key. My key looks like a business card, but really it's all controlled from my phone, right?
Wow.
And that's the future of where we could see technology leading us, right? When we think about all the smart devices that are out there being deployed, this is a way that businesses can continue to interact with our consumers on an everyday basis. We are playing the role of working with everyone to ensure that first of all, let's understand how you consume your electricity. Let's help you consume it in the most efficient way. I talked about the most expensive and the second most expensive way, right? So if we can help someone consume in the most effective way, that is one of our biggest goals. Secondly, as we work with businesses to find innovative ways, let's say it's a grocery store, and we can work with that to put electric vehicle chargers right at that grocery store.
Yeah.
That right away begins to increase more traffic to that place, and simple things like that. So as we look at all these smart technologies and all these smart devices that are coming into, we want to utilize that as a way to increase productivity. And I could tell you, and COVID has taught us, this pandemic has taught us one thing: electricity is crucial.
Mm.
This is the longest I've ever had to work from home, and I can tell you, I'm a people person, and so this has been frustrating, right? Not to be around people. But the one thing I realize is if my power goes out, I am completely crippled, right?
Mm.
So if I could find simple technologies, if I could find ways to bring in businesses that could help support residents and even other businesses to deploy technologies that could keep us up all the time and things like that. It's not only just economic growth, but also it provides the opportunity for everyone to be connected at any given time. I'll throw in one more thing that's, strong interest, as we see broadband becoming more relevant and deployed throughout our territory, that will just continue to increase the capability of businesses either locating or actually even more people moving. Now we go from the typical rural to urban migration. Now we begin to see the urban to rural migration because the technologies exist. They've got the internet access and people can work remotely. And so that's how we're looking at how we continue to drive economic development throughout our territory.
Wow. I think I need to have an off-air conversation of how do you keep your phone charged that long if it controls your life, because
I was thinking
mine's
about that.
already at 50% and it's only
I think
11 o'clock.
I think Peter might be too smart to do TikTok, and I think that's our problem. I think Peter.
Well, I may or may not be on TikTok.
I love it.
I mean, if once you could do the floss, then you could do any TikTok dance. I mean, that's just if you can floss, then you could do any TikTok dance, right? And so.
Well, Peter,
Cool.
I think, like Anna said, we could talk to you all day, but one thing that I will certainly take away is that I am so glad that there's people like you trying to think through all these solutions for us to make a better world. And I think this is also a huge testament to the type of people that REC is investing in to make sure that they are the best co-op to serve their customers and their members in the future. So with that, Peter, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon in person.
Absolutely, Kyle. And I just got to give a shout out to the 430 employees we have at Rappahannock. They're the ones making it happen. They're the ones every day making this happen. So shout out to them, and really excited to spend more time with the chamber. So thank you for having me today.
Thanks
you
for joining us.